Michael's footsteps echoed in the dusty attic, each step stirring up tiny clouds of dust that danced in the dim light filtering through the small, grimy window. Cobwebs clung to his face, their sticky threads brushing against his skin like ghostly fingers. He coughed, waving a hand through the stale air, trying to clear the thick, musty atmosphere that seemed to cling to everything in the attic. He was searching for his grandfather's old fishing gear, a task that had seemed simple enough until he realized just how much stuff had accumulated over the years. A glint of metal caught his eye, a brief flash of light that stood out against the dull, dusty surroundings. It was tucked under a faded tapestry, almost as if it had been hidden away deliberately. He pulled it out, revealing an old camera. The leather case was worn and the silver tarnished, but it was still a beautiful piece of craftsmanship. It felt strangely cold in his hands, the chill seeping through his skin and sending a shiver down his spine. He turned it over, inspecting its worn surface, noting the intricate details and the signs of age that hinted at the many stories it might hold. A chill ran down his spine. The camera felt wrong, heavy, as if it carried a weight beyond its physical form. He tried to shake off the feeling, telling himself it was just the musty air and the eerie atmosphere of the attic playing tricks on his mind. Maybe it was just the musty air, he thought, trying to rationalize the unease that had settled over him. He slipped the camera into his bag, deciding that it was too interesting a find to leave behind. He decided to take it home, hoping that a closer inspection in better light might reveal more about its history. He'd see if it still worked, curious to discover if the old camera could still capture images and perhaps uncover some of the secrets it seemed to hold. At home, he carefully set up the camera on a tripod, adjusting the settings with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He pressed the shutter button, the click echoing in the quiet room, and waited to see if the camera would respond. To his amazement, the camera worked, producing a photograph that seemed to capture not just the image, but a sense of the past, as if the camera itself was a portal to another time. Michael couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this camera than met the eye. He wondered what other secrets it might reveal. He placed the camera on a shelf, deciding to delve deeper into its history. Little did he know, this discovery was just the beginning of an adventure that would change his life forever. Back in his apartment, Michael cleaned the camera. He was surprised it seemed functional. He bought some film. He decided to test it out. He took a picture of the park across the street, children playing, sun shining, normal. He developed the picture the next day. His blood ran cold. The photo was wrong. The children were gone. The swing set was twisted metal, and in the background a shadowy figure. It was staring directly at him. A sense of dread washed over him. This was no ordinary camera. He tried to rationalize it. A trick of the light? A faulty development process? But deep down he knew this was something else. He took more pictures, each one more disturbing than the last. Distorted faces, dark figures lurking in the corners, places he recognized but twisted, wrong. He started noticing clues in the photos. Faint images, almost hidden. A symbol repeating in the background, a word scrawled on a wall. He felt like he was being led, drawn into a mystery he didn't understand. The clues led him to the edge of town. He had been following a trail of cryptic messages and eerie photographs, each one more unsettling than the last. The final clue pointed him here, to this desolate place where the town met the wild, untamed landscape. An abandoned asylum overlooking the sea. Its crumbling walls and broken windows told stories of a time long past, a time when the building was alive with the sounds of patients and doctors. Now it stood silent, a ghost of its former self. Craggy cliffs, wind whipping his hair. The sea roared below, crashing against the rocks with a relentless fury. He could feel the power of nature all around him, a stark contrast to the eerie stillness of the asylum. The air was thick with the smell of salt and decay. The sea mist clung to his skin, making him shiver. It was as if the very air was trying to warn him, to keep him away from the secrets that lay hidden within the asylum's walls. This was a place of shadows and whispers, Every creak of the old building seemed to carry a voice, a fragment of a forgotten conversation. He could almost hear the echoes of the past, the cries of those who had once been confined here. He felt a cold hand grip his heart. Fear was a constant companion now, a shadow that followed him with every step. He knew that whatever he found here would change him forever. He knew he shouldn't be here. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to leave this place and never return. But curiosity and a need for answers drove him forward. But something drew him forward. It was as if an invisible force was pulling him towards the asylum, urging him to uncover its secrets. He couldn't resist, even though he knew the danger that awaited him. He raised the camera, snapping a picture of the asylum gates. The iron bars were rusted and twisted, a testament to the years of neglect. He wondered what stories they could tell if they could speak. The image that developed sent shivers down his spine. The gates were open. It was as if the asylum was inviting him in, daring him to step inside and face whatever horrors lay within. A figure stood in the doorway, beckoning him closer. It was a shadowy silhouette, barely visible in the dim light. He couldn't tell if it was real or just a figment of his imagination, but he felt compelled to follow. The same symbol from the other photos was etched above the entrance. It was a strange, otherworldly design that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. He had seen it before, in the clues that had led him here, and he knew it held the key to the mystery. He was out of time. The sun was setting, and soon the asylum would be shrouded in darkness. He had to make a choice. Enter the building and face whatever awaited him, or turn back and leave the mystery unsolved. He had to know the truth. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the unknown. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to close in around him, but he was determined. He would uncover the secrets of the abandoned asylum, no matter the cost. Section 5. The Eye of the Storm. The storm was not just outside, it was within him. A tempest of emotions and memories swirling in his mind. He stepped inside the asylum, a place long forgotten by time, its walls whispering secrets of the past. The air grew heavy, oppressive, as if the very atmosphere was thick with the weight of untold stories and lingering spirits. He could hear the distant crash of waves against the cliffs below, a reminder of the relentless power of nature, echoing the turmoil within him. The smell of mildew and decay intensified, a pungent reminder of the passage of time and the inevitable decay of all things. He wandered through darkened corridors, each one colder than the last, the chill seeping into his bones, making him shiver with a mix of fear and anticipation. A feeling of dread settled over him. He was being watched. The shadows seemed to move, to breathe, as if they were alive and aware of his presence. He reached a room at the end of the hall, a place that seemed to pulse with a strange energy, drawing him closer. The door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling out, beckoning him to enter. He pushed it open, heart pounding, each creak of the door echoing like a thunderclap in the silence. Inside, the air crackled with energy, a tangible force that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. The room was bare except for a single chair and a mirror on the wall, both seemingly out of place in the otherwise empty space. But the mirror wasn't reflecting the room. Instead, it showed a different reality, a world that was both familiar and alien. It was showing another place, another world, a landscape that seemed to shift and change, as if it were alive. And it was calling to him, a silent invitation that he felt deep in his soul, urging him to step through and discover what lay beyond. Section 6. The Bridge Between Worlds. The mirror pulsed with an eerie light. He felt drawn to it like a moth to a flame. He reached out, his fingers brushing the cold glass. The world around him dissolved. The asylum, the sea, his life. It was all gone. He was pulled through the mirror into a whirlwind of colors and sensations. Then silence. He opened his eyes. He was standing on a bridge. But it wasn't a bridge made of wood or stone. It was made of shadows and mist, and it stretched out before him, leading into a world shrouded in darkness. Section 7. A world of shadows. He took a step onto the bridge. It felt solid beneath his feet. He looked back. The mirror was gone. He was trapped. He had no choice but to move forward. The air was cold, biting. The sky above was a swirling vortex of grey clouds. Lightning flashed in the distance, illuminating the landscape for a fleeting moment. He saw twisted trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The ground was barren and cracked, as if ravaged by some ancient fire. This world was a nightmare. Section 8. The abyss stares back. He walked for what felt like hours. The silence was broken only by the wind howling through the desolate landscape. He felt a presence following him, watching him. He didn't dare turn around. He knew whatever lurked behind him was beyond comprehension. He stopped at the edge of a chasm. It seemed to stretch endlessly into the abyss. He looked down, but there was only blackness. He felt a chill run down his spine. He knew in that moment that he had stumbled into something far older and more terrifying than he could have ever imagined. Section 9. The journey begins. Michael's journey into the terrifying unknown has just begun. What lies ahead in this world of shadows? What secrets hide in the darkness? And will he ever find his way back? Section 10. Return to darkness. The answers await in part 2 of Michael's haunted camera. Don't miss the chilling continuation of this terrifying tale. Subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next chapter in this descent into darkness.